Welcome to the Drastic Results with Tony Harris Taylor show.
To go to another level, you must try to learn and hear something new. So make a change today. So don't procrastinate and see your business grow and change. So check out Drastic Results, yeah, with Tony Harris Taylor. Drastic Results, oh yeah, Tony Harris Taylor. Yeah.
Hey, everybody, good morning and welcome to the Drastic Results with Tony Harris Taylor. And I am coming to you from a log cabin in the woods. What the heck was I thinking? What the heck was I thinking? I'm going to tell you, this is probably the most drastic thing I've ever done. When I tell you I'm in the Blue Ridge, Georgia woods, up a mountain about 4 miles, and I'm a city girl through and through. But the good thing is the Wi-Fi works really well up here. So I don't have a fancy background. I got a log cabin, but it's actually nice, serene, and surreal. I'm getting a lot of thinking done, a lot of work done, and most importantly, I'm talking to my God a lot while I'm up here. So, and it's a good thing to get away sometime. You know, entrepreneurship is tough and it takes a lot of energy. And this is a good way to relax and serene. And then the other thing is, I'm so grateful, just grateful that I have a business where I can travel and still work. Travel is high on my list of priorities, having different experiences and being able to create a business where you can do that and you can work from anywhere. I'm just very grateful. So today, our guest is going to talk about being a parent in today's busy world. She is a coaching client, and I really resonate with this because I've always been an entrepreneur or commission based, which means if you didn't work, you didn't eat. And it's same with entrepreneurship. And as a parent of young children, it was a challenge to balance the entrepreneurial grind and the business grind and be a mother. And you know, it was a challenge for me. My kids are grown now and they have their stories. If you want to hear my kids tell their stories, you can go to my YouTube channel and find the show where I had my family on, because entrepreneurship is a family affair and your family makes sacrifices, as you are making sacrifices, building your business and your legacy for them. But what Debra is going to teach us is how to do the 5 C's of parenting with ease, even if you're a busy business professional, entrepreneurship, corporate executive. And she works with men and women, single parents, as well as families. And we're going to learn some of her strategies. But I do want to encourage you all that even though sometimes you do, and don't make no mistakes about it, you have to sacrifice some of the things that your family needs today for their future tomorrow. We're going to talk a little bit about mom guilt and how to overcome some of that as well. And just know that you are really doing what you do to support your children and give them the best life ever. So I'm grateful for those of you who are watching. Hi, Elwanda. Yay. Hey, honey. So nice to see you. I'm so grateful for those of you watching. And Elwanda has like a ton of kids. And she took in everybody else's kids. And she's a doctor. And she's a busy executive, so she knows exactly what we're talking about. So without further ado, I'm going to bring our guest to the stage, Ms. Debra Field out of Dixon, Tennessee. Hi, Debra. How are you?
Hello. Good morning, Tony. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. And Deborah, in your own words, I've already set you up, but in your own words, would you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, I'm a parenting coach for parents who are struggling with frustration and embarrassment because of their children's conduct, either at school, at home, out in the public. We all struggle with sometimes our children don't want to do what we want them to do. So, together, I partner with the parents and we draft a blueprint, or it's actually a parenting plan, to quickly calm their children and get their cooperation and improve their conduct.
So let's talk about that. So I don't think I mentioned this, but Deborah is a coaching client. So she coaches with me. And when we started and I was learning all about her business, she told me that most people come to her wanting to fix the children.
Mm-hmm.
When really it's the parents that need the support. So let's talk about that, fixing the children versus fixing the parents, Deborah.
Yes. When you want to fix the children, you want to find a way to make the children please you, to put it simply. And to work with the parents, we're looking for ways that we can reach our children and them still feeling loved, accepted, and like they're still fine without tearing down their self-esteem, self-confidence, and all.
So you have a nursing background. How did you get from nursing to doing this passion of helping parents be better parents?
I was a nurse for 28 years, and during that time, I worked with a lot of peds, and which is pediatrics. I'm sorry, I'm using nursing language.
I was going to say, what's that mean?
Pediatrics. And I would see parents struggling to try to be there with their children or to be at home, or, it would be hard sometimes. And so when my children were grown, I decided I would pursue, I always wanted to do psychology, counseling, therapy or something. And that was my minor when I took nursing. So I decided to go ahead and pursue that career because I really loved children. I loved helping parents, and it was just my passion, and I wanted to go for it.
But you had a personal experience that really led you to stop in your tracks and develop a program. So tell us about your personal experience with the spilled milk, if you will.
Yes, that's what I was going to share. Had worked all night because in the nursing, when I left, we were all doing 12-hour shifts. You didn't have another choice. So I had worked all night, a 12-hour shift, and I came in that morning, and I was going to take my children to their babysitter, but I was going to feed them breakfast first. So I'm in the kitchen. I'm trying to get breakfast. I have a 2-year-old hanging on my leg wanting mama's attention. Then I've got a new baby that's in the crib that's crying, wanting things. So I finally get breakfast on the table, and I'm feeling kind of frustrated and like, I just need to get this done. Will y'all just let me do this? And so we're at the table and we're trying to eat breakfast. Well, my 2-year-old wants to be independent. So he reaches up to grab something on the table. In the process, he spills his milk all over the table. Wow. I screamed at him, and I know every parent said this. I said, will you sit down? And I pushed him. But when I did, I pushed him harder than I should have pushed and meant to push. And immediately I felt guilty because I was like, oh gosh, I never wanted to be this kind of parent because I had grown up in an abusive home. And so I was going to be the exact opposite with my children. But there were occasions that would come up like that where I would just react, and I would do it without even meaning to or thinking. And so reaching out to a friend, she introduced me to some parenting growth opportunities and all. And I learned so much. There was so little that I really knew about child development and their needs. It was all focused on my needs to that point.
Mm-hmm. So the don't cry over spilled milk is a real thing. It's so funny because I have a similar story behind my daughter. Breastfeeding, and she's I accidentally spilled the breast milk and she wailed. She was like postpartum. And so she
Uh-huh.
wailed. And I was like, oh, that's where the saying don't cry over spilled
Milk. There you
milk comes from.
go.
But that just brought me back to that. So what I love about that story is you grew up in a rough, abusive home.
Yes.
You were determined not to be that person. When
Right.
you saw that come out in you,
Yes.
and the truth is, that's what we know because that's what we grew up with, but you
Right. That
did
was,
something about it.
yes. Yes. And that's the big thing, is to understand that we can change those generational habits and ways of being, and become the people we want to be if we
Yeah.
reach out and ask for that help.
Awesome. Awesome. So you have a parenting assessment. And I actually have never done this before because typically I'm in my office when I do this, but I'm going to try sharing my screen and seeing if I can share your assessment. So let me see if I can hit share screen and see if I can choose your assessment. Yeah, I am doing it. Can you see it?
I do.
Yay! So you have an assessment for people to discover their parenting style. And
Yes.
there are multiple styles. So there's the um, guiding parent, which is an authoritative style,
Yes.
a distracted or flexible parent, which is uninvolved, a strict parenting, authoritarian, and then permissive parenting. And so you have this assessment that your um, parents can take to find out where they are. And then, is there like a perfect blend of all these styles? Because when I look at these, I'm like, well, like right here, distracted or uninvolved. But at some point, you do need to let your children make their own decisions. So, do you help balance parents out if they're too heavy in one area or another?
Well, about helping your children make their decisions, we don't just say, okay, you can make your decision. We sit down with them and help them look at the pros and cons and help them understand what the consequences may be if they say, well, I want to go outside and play in the snow, but I don't want to wear my coat. Well,
Yeah,
then we can say, well, what's going to happen if you do that?
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, you're going to get cold. Your little fingers and toes may hurt. You may
Okay.
get sick. Do you want to do that? You know, and then they learn to make their own choices in a healthy way.
Okay. So
But
learning how to reason with your children,
yes.
helping them to determine through, but Deborah, I'm busy and I gotta get stuff done. I don't have time to stop and reason with this 2 year old, 3 year old. Do what I tell you to do. That's the school I'm from. So, how do you change the parent's mind to know that it's okay to pause?
What's important to you?
Mm, okay.
What's the most important thing to you?
Yeah. So
Your children.
ultimately, it comes down to how you want your children to be as they grow.
Yes. And they mature.
And if
Yes.
I'm always telling them what to do and not helping them to reason on what to do when they get in a situation by themselves,
They can't make their own decisions.
or they make the
Or
wrong.
they'll be dependent on other people to
Mm,
make those decisions. And it
mm,
can be very costly because
mhm.
they won't trust themselves. They won't trust what they want. They won't trust their desires or trust that they can even do it.
Yeah.
So they'll always be looking for somebody else, looking for that approval from someone else.
Wow, that's very powerful right there.
Mm-hmm.
And if a parent learns the techniques to reason with their children, help their children in the moment make their own decisions, then that will later on translate to them being able to make decisions at a time when you're not there.
Right. And especially with peers, when you're talking like middle school and high school, there's a lot of peer pressure to
Mm-hmm.
do things. And
Mm-hmm.
if they've learned at home that they can make choices, then they're going to make those choices for themselves and not succumb to so much peer pressure.
Yeah.
And, y- so that's a big thing. And then,
That's a huge thing. It's huge. So let's talk about the 5 C's of parenting with ease. You've come up with these 5 C's, and so you can tell us what they are, and then we'll go through them one by one.
okay, the 5 C's are calm, console, connect, communicate, and choices.
I love that. So let's start with the first one.
Okay, I look at it like a stair step or a blueprint, whatever you want to call it. But first of all, we have to start at the bottom to make sure we're remaining calm and that we're in a good place, and then that we're not acting out of our emotions. And then we can console the child. Make them feel safe. Let them know, reassure them we're going to be there, and they're not going to get harmed or whatever, and they're going to be accepted. And then connect is where we connect. We have empathy, and we look at their emotional, because all behavior is a message from what's going on inside.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're going to look for. I mean, that connecting is trying to identify their feelings and help them to understand what those feelings are. And then we're going to communicate, and we communicate on their level. And I use the one example of, we want to tell a child they can have maybe cake after dinner. Well, they can relate to that. But if we
Okay.
tell them you can have cake at 6:30, they can't relate to that time. They don't have that concept yet. And I'm talking like 3 to 7, somewhere in there,
Okay.
or before, of course. But the younger ones, they don't have that concept. Or as they're middle school, high school, whatever they do. So
Okay.
it's finding that communication that's on their level that they can understand, and then we give them choices within our boundaries.
Okay.
Like, my grandson didn't want to take his medicine one night when he stayed with us. So I said, okay, I'm not going to force you to do that, but here's a choice that you have. You can take your medicine, or I can take you home to mom and dad and let them take care of this. He says, I think I'll take my medicine, Nana.
All right.
You know,
So you bring up a good point right there. That was the 5 C's, right? You finished the
yes,
choices. So you bring up a good point right there. So we have a lot of children with special needs, ADHD. I raised the ADHD child. Where were you? Where were you when I was raising my?
that takes a lot of patience.
Oh my gosh! And you know,
They really need choices. They really need choices.
they really need choices. So you work with families that have special needs children as well, ADHD, ADD,
Mhm.
autism on some level. Am I right?
The autism and things like, it depends on how severe they are. Sometimes they really do need a therapist with
Sure,
autism and
sure,
some of the bigger diagnostic.
sure.
I can pretty much guide them. I can say it looks like it probably is this.
But
And you
but
might-
but but you work with the parents of
Yes.
those children
Oh,
to help
absolutely.
them to, because
Yes.
you don't diagnose children. In fact,
Mm-mm.
let's be clear, Deborah does more work with the parents than she does with the child,
Yes.
because when you learn how to parent better, your child all of a sudden shows up differently.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yes.
So, but you work with parents of ADHD children so they can cope
Yes.
and also help them with tools for school.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So that's so important, everyone, that she can help you manage that. And it's difficult, especially when you're busy and you're an entrepreneur and you are a career parent. It's very difficult to manage that. And so she helps you manage that.
Mhm.
So I love your 5 C's.
Thank
And
you.
it's really a choice for the parents to pause,
Yes.
slow down a little bit. Now,
Yes.
my daughter, who's in the middle of taking your assessment as we speak, my daughter and her husband parent different than I did. And I'm
Mhm,
watching and learning from them.
mhm.
Um, they already have implemented a lot of the C's without even knowing your style.
Exactly.
But me, I'm like, just spank him. So on that note, do you believe in spanking, Deborah?
I do not.
Okay.
And I'll tell you something else too that a lot of parents want to, that they have heard that they need to practice, and that's timeout. And I don't do that. I don't
You don't
believe in
do
that.
timeout either.
No. And the reason for that is because many don't know how to apply the timeout. And if they go to their room, the kids are going to play. They're not really learning anything. So
Mm,
what I suggest is when the child is in a really um, emotional state, just leave them. I'm not saying
right,
leave,
right,
but
right,
I'm
right.
saying
Just
don't
let
try
me
to
see it.
reach them at that point. Let
Okay.
them have to process. They have to process that emotion. And once it's calmed down, then we can communicate and we can kind of guide them in what direction. So during the fit, I'll say, or the tantrum, just make sure they're safe.
It's interesting because my son, who I love and adore dearly, was my ADHD. And I did spank him. And frankly, it didn't do any good. And I was looking for an alternative to spanking because I didn't want to spank him, but that's all I knew.
Right.
And it didn't do any good because he
Well,
would turn around and do the same thing.
and what spanking does a lot of times is instills fear in
Right.
them and shame, and then they really withdraw and they won't come tell you things when they really need to tell you things.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So, okay, that is excellent. So let's move on and talk about how networking is helping you in your business. You're in our upcoming book, the Viral Networking for Drastic Results book. But how has networking helped you in your business?
I'll tell you what, being in this business has caused me to grow in more ways than I ever imagined I would grow. And networking has been one of the biggest, it was the biggest challenge for me. And I'm saying was until we started working together, because I didn't realize it at the time until I was trying to network and I couldn't. One time I went to get on stage and I literally passed out and things like that. And I finally understood that it was a PTSD that I had because I was
Mm,
burned as a young child. So I'd
mm,
had a lot of, rejection and bullying and abusive parents, so I was scared of people, but I didn't realize it was that big.
mm.
So when I met you at the SCORE program, you were doing a webinar workshop there, and I thought that I need to work with her. And the one thing that you have said that's just turned everything around for me is to say it was when you shared about concentrate on just making friends and finding out what you can do to help them, which fit right into everything I'd always done
Right.
anyway, which is the nursing and helping and whatever. And I thought, oh, if it's about that, I can do that. And so now I do. I'm
Yeah. And
hey,
I'm so proud of you. You have showed up and drastically got out of your comfort zone and continue to do so. Um, and everybody loves Deborah, and she is making connections and she's going to start speaking soon. So if you are a leader of a organization who has parents in it, even if it's a business organization, if they're parents, they need to know how to be better parents so they can do their business. Please
most
contact
of them
Deborah.
and most of them deal with the guilt because they're
Yes.
torn between career and family and home, and so that's a big thing there.
So please reach out to Deborah because, and I'll put her information up so that she can come and speak to your group and share her 5 C's of parenting with ease, even for busy business professionals.
Yes.
And when you are a leader of a organization of business people, you want to help them be balanced in their businesses. And this is a topic that can help them to be better business owners and better people all around. Because let's face it, all of us are building our business so that we can leave a legacy for the children that we're talking about here. So, and also take away some of the guilt because we are doing it for our family's future. We just have to balance that thing out.
Yes.
And we're all working on balance, myself included.
Absolutely.
So Debra is in Dixon, Tennessee, which is outside of Nashville, and but she works with you virtually. So contact Debra, get on her calendar, get her assessment, see where you are in your parenting style. And if you're already beyond parenting like I am, and you have grandchildren, please pass it on to your adult children so they can be better parents. And if you know you set a stage, knowingly or unknowingly, where your children might be the same type of parent you were, and you don't want that to happen, get in touch with Debra. Give them the gift of Debra. Right? You're probably in a better position financially to help your children because they're taking care of kids, help your children be better parents. So give them the gift of Debra. I think it would be very loving and it would help for generations to come. Mm-hmm. Any other thoughts you want to give before we say goodbye, Debra?
No, I just believe we change the world one child at a time.
Absolutely. And so Debra is passionate. Bring her in as a speaker, bring her into your family and help your children to succeed. Give them a fair chance using the 5 C's of parenting with ease. This is Tony Harris Taylor saying, take a drastic step today for a fantastic tomorrow, and we'll see you next week. Bye, Debra. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you for having me.